So you grew up right outside of Boston.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Yeah. Well, in the 80s, man, Boston and like the Boston area was a little bit wild. I mean, it's like where I was from is tamed down a little bit, like Malden, Medford, Lynn, that like it's different now, but in the 80s it was pretty wild. It was pretty common to see people shooting guns at each other and whatnot. And I lived in the projects, so my dad's 100% disabled veteran, and my mom wasn't really present for most of my life. And I don't want to share too much about her stuff, but she had struggles of her own. So did my dad. But yeah, it was definitely a full contact dinner table at my house.
Were you an only child?
No. So I have an older sister. Her father's from my mom's previous marriage, and I have a brother, a younger brother. He's 2 years younger than me. We have the same mom and dad.
Were you guys all pretty close, or?
Yeah, tight knit for sure. My brother played, did everything that basically I did: hockey, football, wrestling, all that stuff. So yeah, it was pretty close. We were pretty close.
Were you a 3-sport athlete through like middle school, high school?
This show is sponsored by Open Recovery Addiction Help. Whether you're newly sober, in long-term sobriety, or even maybe looking to make a change in your life, Open Recovery offers 24/7 support right from your phone. It's anonymous and packed with tools to help you stay connected, stay accountable, and build the life you deserve. Download the Open Recovery Addiction Help app today and take the next step in your recovery journey.
Yeah, but I actually like more than that if you like really want to get down to it. So I played football, hockey, wrestling, lacrosse, baseball. Those are like the sports that I excelled at. But you get older and then you got to start like picking your lanes. And but all through high school I played 3 sports. I golfed in the summer. I snowboarded too, but I didn't really like do that competitively.
Yeah.
But athletics, man, I'd be honest with you, like athletics saved my life in a way, man.
Yeah, that's it keeps you away from hanging out with the wrong. Well, you could get connected with the wrong people, but it keeps you busy.
Yeah,
and that's important as a kid, especially in high school. You're part of something. It's that camaraderie. What was social life like for you in high school?
I don't want to say like I was like in with the popular kids. Like you played sports, you were a jockey, you know what I mean? You hung out with the same, like that's kind of what it came to. But like my girlfriend was a prep, she was a square, she didn't play sports, you know what I mean? And I'm not from like the rich part of town. So like I obviously grew up with the rough and tough kids too. And then I played hockey, which a lot of the hockey players are from what I would say is a wealthy type family. Hockey's expensive. So like my friends and my group of friends were like pretty broad, like from all sorts of different upbringings and demographics. But I guess like if you had to like pick, I was like, I hung out with the athletes, man.
I mean, I feel like with sports comes drinking. Were you drinking through high school?
Yeah. So that's the thing is like when I was playing sports, active in sports, man, that is what kept me out of trouble. That is what maintained my ability to get good grades. Because if you don't get good grades, you can't play sports, right? And then like come after high school where I had that period of no sports, that's really where I was like, all right, like I'm off the rails kind of, because I had nothing keeping me grounded. And I was old enough now where I wasn't under my dad's thumb, who's very militant. He's a veteran, and the chain and the leash were off and I was running, man. But yeah, like sports kept me grounded, man. It really did.
Was it like an identity thing for you up until you graduated?
Yeah, I think so. So like, I remember at a young age, man, I got this hockey stick, like, and it said Christian on it, right? Like if you know anything about hockey, it's the Christian Brothers Hockey Company. Like it was brothers from like Minnesota that made hockey sticks. And just like back in the day, like graphic design wasn't that like impressive, right? It was like spray paint Christian on like a white stick, it was a Christian hockey stick, and I'm like, hey, what's up with this like Christian hockey stick? I'm asking questions about the hockey sticks. I start getting messages about like God and Jesus because Christian, right? And I'm like, oh, cool. And I learn about Jesus and I hear like, hey, this guy like walked on water and stuff. I'm like, I want to do that. I was kind of impressed by that. And I figured out, I can't walk on water, but I could walk on frozen water and then I could skate on it. So that like evolved to hockey. And Yeah, man, I loved it. Hockey was my thing, and honestly, it all started with that stick, like that Christian hockey stick. And ever since then, I've been a believer, right? I won't say that I was always obedient. I was a backsliding believer, but I always had belief. I always had faith. But yeah, man, hockey started it off.
So take us through, once you graduate high school, you're no longer playing sports. You're not under dad's thumb anymore. What does that look like?
Well, I'm not under dad's thumb anymore, but I am playing sports still. So after high school, I played juniors. So junior hockey is like basically right before you go to college or you go pro. Some people don't even go to college, right? And it depends really. It can go any which way. But in New England, usually, like if you're playing junior hockey in Canada or in New England, it's like that's elite junior hockey. So I was playing that. I played 3 years of junior right after high school. I played in the EJHL, the IJHL. I played for Graham Townsend, who's a former Bruin. Serious dude, big brolic guy from Canada, but he's got an interesting story too. But I played for Graham. I played for the Bridgewater Bandits, and I bounced around, traveled the country, played juniors, and that's kind of really where like drinking and partying picked up, I guess, because it's like we're not 21 yet, and we're like, what can we get away with in this town? And hey, can we sneak in or kind of get like a privilege vibe if you show up as a hockey team. Like, yeah, just come in.
Drink for free. No IDs required.
Yeah, man. Yeah. When I ended up landing in Vegas and playing in Vegas, I was trying to stop drinking. And you walk in a place like that, you just sit in front of a poker machine. They give you a drink and it's free. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess I'm drinking again.
What was that like for you? You said there was a period where you were trying to stop drinking off of, I'm assuming, self-will. What was that like?
Yeah, white knuckling it. Definitely. That's probably the term, right? Like white knuckling it, nothing grounded, no spiritual awakening, no removal of character defects, just trying to like go through the motions, sometimes even faking the funk, really, but it's that's not sustainable. It's not sustainable at all. There's like steps and processes that you need to go through to find sustainable recovery, right? And it's like, one thing is abstinence, and then there's another thing to be like recovered or in recovery. So yeah, it wasn't working. That was like a temporary solution for my internal problem that I was seeking external solutions for.
For sure,
just not sustainable.
So you play junior hockey for 3 years. After junior hockey is when you stop playing sports completely.
Yeah. So my goal was to go play college hockey and then hopefully try to like figure it out, play pro somewhere. I don't know if NHL or minors
KHL.
or KHL, Sweden, whatever, man. But I got pulled over in a car that I wasn't driving and I was a passenger. And there was things in the car that shouldn't have been in the car, and I'm not going to fake the funk on that, right? But it wasn't my car, and I wasn't driving. Long story short, it was marijuana and stuff, and the cops smell it. They're like, yeah, we got probable cause to search the vehicle. Like, whose stuff is it? I'm like, where I'm from, it was like, I was always raised that cops aren't your friends. Like, officer friendly isn't friendly, and like, that's just how it was. So like, he's asking me questions, he's asking the driver questions, my other buddy questions. And we're just like, yeah, we're not like going to tell on anybody here. Like, he's like, well, I'll take you all if you don't like answer the questions. And he's like, I remember him asking me questions. And I said, excuse me, sir, no disrespect, but at the end of this week, are you going to give me part of your paycheck? And he's like, yeah, no. And I said, well, then I'm not going to do your fucking job for you. And he's like, oh, one of those guys, huh? And he cuffed all of us. And, we went off for like minor stuff, which is like, possession of weed or whatever. Come to find out later on, like years and years later, I get a letter from the Massachusetts Supreme Court saying that case had been removed with prejudice because it's known as like the Annie Ducon scandal, or there's a Netflix docuseries out on it. It's called How to Fix a Drug Scandal. Well, when that occurred, I was playing junior hockey. And once you get arrested, you have something like on your record in the hockey world, especially juniors, like the colleges just go, that's it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're trouble. Like, nope. Even anyone is interested, they're not interested anymore. So that's what happened. And I was like, well, I guess college hockey's not an option for me now. Now what? You know what I mean? And I went to bartending and running security at biker bars on Hampton Beach and different places. And it's where the chaos began, man.
So you're doing security work. Do you know how to fight at this time? Or are you?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I grew up like my dad is obviously military. My grandfather is a bare knuckle boxer at the lumberjack camps. Like I knew how to throw, a 1-2 at age 4. I wrestled. I was a good wrestler, won second place in the state in New Hampshire. But fighting, wrestling, contact sports, like self-defense, that stuff had always been part of my life since I was raised with it. You know what I mean? Literally my dad raised my brother and I to how to fight. Like that's one of my first skill sets.
So what was your first big run-in with problem, I guess, once you got into the nightlife and you're working security?
Problem like physical altercations?
Well, I guess just where, the part of the life, let's call it, of drinking and partying and you're not playing sports anymore, not sure what direction you're going to go in. When did things kind of start to take a turn?
I'd say, when the party starts, it doesn't really stop. I always say like back then it was like Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop, right? And it's like I discovered in my own like way now that I'm almost 6 years in recovery and I've been working in the field that like my first addiction was actually addicted to the natural chemicals that my body already produces. Dopamine, serotonin, adrenaline, oxytocin, endorphins, right? Like after a hockey game, I didn't want to go home. I wanted the party to continue, right? There's nothing like scoring a goal in front of a large crowd. There's nothing like scoring a touchdown in front of a large crowd. So when that like period where sports is removed, I'm certainly still seeking that like feeling, right? And you start drinking, the party doesn't stop, and then someone's got cocaine, you try a little bit of that, and you're like, oh, this kind of feels like I scored a goal in front of a large crowd. Still not comparable, but it's close, you know what I mean? And then it's like, well, now I'm, you got a wide awake drunk and you want to drink into the wee hours of the night, and like that doesn't end really, it continues, and then what started as recreational use becomes increased tolerance, and then increased tolerance has you seeking more quantity or more amount in more frequent settings, and next thing you know, chemical dependence sets in and you find yourself addicted, man. And like you're drinking every day and just to feel good.
Are you drinking when you first wake up in the morning?
Depends on if I had a hangover. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you could go like, I don't know. I'd like to say like I was a mad scientist back then because like you could figure it out, right? Like, oh, if I drink this and then I'll drink water and then, what? Dude, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I would tell you like, no, I got this science figured out where you don't wake up with a hangover. So yeah, man, if I woke up with a hangover, the easiest thing to do was get at one of those twisted teas, the tall boys, and crack that thing, and all of a sudden I feel good again. Like, let the party continue.
Best way to detox is to retox.
Yeah. I hate saying it like that too, because I feel like I glamorize it and I just want to be like straight up about it. That is like a means to misery. And I'm so glad that I'm out of that rut. But back then, like in it, yeah, I mean, I thought it was cool.
What was your social circle like? Did you have a lot of friends when you were drinking and partying? Was it, trusted, close friends, or was it kind of just those flimsy relationships? And
yeah, no. So again, like back then, yeah, I'd say, yeah, these are my friends. You know what I mean? And now I'll tell you right now, straight up, like those are the people that were co-signing my bullshit. They're not my friends. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But that doesn't make them bad people either. They were, there for the season of my life. I always say people are in your life for a reason, season, lesson, or blessing. Mm-hmm. And you never know what they're there for until after you find out. So, nothing against those people, but, some of them I'm still friends with today. And a lot of them, yeah, I don't communicate with. A lot of them were like strippers. So during that like season of my life or that period of my life, what I discovered shortly after hockey, like the removal of hockey, was this thing called semi-pro football in New England. It's like, some really good football back then, back in the early 2000s, really good football guys that were formerly in the NFL and Division I and Division 2 and 3 college guys in New England playing for a whole bunch of different teams scattered out throughout New England. And that was like my means to be like an athlete still, right? I call it like glorified men's league now because it's just evolved and changed so much. But yeah, man, like drinking before the games, drinking after the games. Some people are drinking during the games, right? Mm-hmm. So and then it's back to the, hey, what are we doing before the game? And you already have plans after the game. You already know where you're going, whose house, who's got this, who's got that. Yeah, let the game continue. So really, that's what it was, man. It was another means to fit in and stay an athlete, but also keep partying. Partying.
What year is this that you're working at the bars and like, the whole nightlife?
I'd say, so I graduated high school 2003. So I stopped playing junior hockey. My last year of junior hockey was 2006. So yeah, 2006, 2007, I found that like not arena football, sorry, semi-pro football league. And yeah, then I took a year off, partied more. And then I went back on a team in 2009. We won a championship together. And then like I played for a good grip the next like 10 years, but still drinking, partying, like life is totally unmanageable.
Now, you did go to prison?
Yeah.
How long did you go away for?
So I have 1,020 days of my life served in custody. But what I got was a 2.5 to 7 for essentially burglary of my own apartment. And I know that sounds funny, but I didn't break in, I didn't steal anything. It was just, I wasn't supposed to go home. It was kind of like a drunk, toxic relationship with a girl. Call it domestic violence, if you will. But like,
can you walk us through actually what happened?
Yeah,
that
sure.
day?
Sure.
Yeah.
So like her and I were drinking all the time. She lived with her brother. I lived there too. Her brother was a drunk. I was a drunk. We would party like in the life, right? Like always arguing, always fighting. She's jealous. I'd come home from football games, have like glitter on my shirt and stuff. And you're like, oh, what's that? You were supposed to, I'm like, I would lie, lie, deny, anything but tell her the truth. Jeez. She starts to pick like that night particularly, she picks up like this huge Yankee candle, this glass Yankee candle thing, and like throws it at me, hits me in the face. I get this like huge lump in my face. And basically she was like pretty much attacking me. I grab her by the shoulders and I toss her over the couch, and like the neighbors here, whatever, they call the cops, they come. I took off in my truck, and anyway, I get pulled over. The cops arrest me for that situation. And it's like, not a big deal, whatever. Pay $40, you get out of jail, right? So that's what I did. But the bail conditions now are in place. Like, stay away from her, stay away from him, don't have contact. I'm like, I live there. I'm like, whatever. I'll go to my dad's for a couple of days. I went for my dad for a couple of days. I wake up the next day, I get text messages from her, And, now I'm in a position where I can't have contact with her, but she don't know that. And she's calling me and texting me, and she's showing up at my dad's house. I'm like, oh, what the, like, it was just crazy, man. It was crazy. But like, yeah, I didn't follow my bail conditions and like continued to have contact with her, continued to talk to her, went back to living there. And everything was cool for a while until the next drunk argument, right? And then the cops come and you're like, hey, yeah, you're not supposed to be here, blah, blah, blah. And now they cuff you and they hold you without bail. And that's how I was charged with burglaries, because in New Hampshire, if you enter a structure, premises, or dwelling that you're prohibited to enter, and upon doing so, you commit a crime, it's a burglary. So like, yeah, I break into your house and I steal your TV. Me going into your house, and the crime I committed is taking your TV, and I wasn't prohibited to be there. Well, what happened with me is my bail conditions prohibited me from going there, and the crime I committed when I entered that home was violating my bail conditions. And they also charged me with tampering with a witness, but that was dropped because I didn't like try to influence her testimony in the case, if you will. The other thing is too, is like when you have contact with somebody that against or in violation of a like protective order or a bail condition, they call it stalking. And I know people in the public think like, you hear stalking, you think like it's like peeping Tom stuff, peeking in windows. And like, listen, I had no reason to be peeping on anything in her windows. Stalking is actually just having unprivileged contact or communication against a protective order or bail condition. So yeah, like you can get a text message and text back and you're a stalker. It's kind of weird. And yeah, so I've dealt with that and some pretty much like false judgment as a result of some of that. But if you know, and if you know me, you know what's up. But yeah, you know what I mean? That's a weird thing. I wish that they would actually change that.
You were given 2 to 7 years for that?
Yeah, so I was held without bail, preventative detention, because I violated my bail and I had contact with the person that I shouldn't have contact with and her brother. And there was a lot leading up. Like her brother tried to stab me one night too. I like took the knife from him.
What? Wait, can you tell us that story?
Yeah. So her and I are arguing. This is a night before the cops ever came or anything. And like, I don't know, I said something disrespectful to her straight up. And I think he was upstairs sleeping. He like worked at the shipyard. He's a big like brolic type kid, but definitely struggled himself. He's actually no longer alive. He died of an overdose. But yeah. So he came downstairs. He's like, shut blah blah blah, you know, shut up. And I'm like, yeah, all right, dude, beat it. Like, you know, he's like, oh, I'm gonna go upstairs and blah. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what he was even saying at this point, but he came down with this like weird, like it's like almost like a like decorative type knife. It was like, I don't know, it looked like a Ninja Turtles like sai, but it had like sharp. It was weird. I don't know how to describe it, but it was pretty big. And he's like, you know, waving this thing at me, and like, I don't know. I just, like I said, I kind of do one of these. You put wrist out to protect your interior arteries, and you get cut there. It's a wrap. So just like did one of these and like took the knife from him, basically put him on the floor, choked him out, and she's freaking out and like hitting me with, I don't know, something. I don't know what it was. I think it was an ashtray or something, but I'm like, oh, another crazy night. You know what I mean? So anyway, after I like took the knife from him, choked him out, I just basically ran to my truck and I drove to my dad's house, which was like 2 miles away, crashed on the couch. And again, like you wake up the next day to the text, I'm sorry. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. It's just like a toxic relationship, man. But yeah, so that's like one of those incidences that led up to the ultimate, like me being arrested for domestic violence. And, and by all truth, it was, right. You know, like she hit me with a glass candle in the face. I picked her up. I tossed her over a couch. Yeah, there was an altercation, right? And I bounced, and so when I had the bail conditions and they come back for another like drunk argument, I'm there, not supposed to be there. They arrest me without bail. They charge me with the stalking, the violating protective order, burglary of the apartment I lived at, and tampering with a witness. And they held me without bail, preventative detention. So now I'm like stuck like Chuck fighting the case from like inside jail. Sat there pre-trial 11 months and then get an offer. Because obviously I did something, you know what I mean? But I'm not like copping to like what they're asking for. And originally they're like, 3.5 to 7 or 4 to 8 or whatever it was. I changed lawyer a couple times. I'm like, man, what? Like I've never even been like in jail before. Never been in trouble. Like I'm a good athlete. I'm a smart kid. Like young. I'm like 24. I'm like, what is going on? Like, but I have the same name as my dad too. And I don't want to get into his stuff, but he's had some run-ins himself. So, it is what it is. I think that back then that they wanted time out of me and they were going to get it. So, I'm like, no, I'm going to take this to the hoop. So I'm going to go to trial. I'm going to trial. We go to trial. Basically, we do jury selection, all this stuff. And then like the last minute, they change their plea. They're willing to offer like a cap plea. Like, all right, plead to this. We'll drop all this and just go do your time. At this point, bro, I already had 11 months in pre-trial, not without being found guilty of anything. You know what I mean? Just sitting in pre-trial confinement. And that was rowdy in itself. I won't dive into that, but there's a lot of chaos going on then too. So I'm like, man, just like stuck in county jail. County jail sucks. All jail sucks. Like, let's just be straight up. But like county jail specifically, there's no movement. There's no rec. You got nothing, bro. You're stuck. So my lawyer's like, yeah, man, I take this plea basically because if you lose, they're gonna smoke you. Like they're actually gonna give you more time for basically utilizing your right to a trial or your right to a speedy trial, right? Like you take our plea and you can get this, but if you go to trial and you lose, dude, they smoke you, you know what I mean? So I'm like listening to people, I'm listening to my lawyer, and then this new deal comes in last minute, like the day of jury selection. So you pick jury and then like they set a trial.
Yeah.
And then he's like, hey, they offered a cap plea, which is the cap plea was like 2.5 to 7, and I already got 11 months in right now. So he's like, basically, you just go like right to minimum security or the halfway house, if you accept this, and that's it, basically. If you go to trial, they can give you anywhere from this to that. And I'm like, oh, man. And then the cat plea, they can't ever go over it, but they can go under it. So I'm like, oh, so I could potentially go home today if I accept this. He's like, well, I mean, yeah, you could, but we're going to have to convince the judge of that. You know what I mean? And yeah, well, there's no convincing the judge of that, because the 11 months that I was in county jail, I was running amok. Meaning, like, it was my first time in jail. People want to try you. People want to test you. And I'm fighting, beating people up. And, like, it was kind of crazy in there. You know what I mean? And I just know that was like, I don't think I had anything that was going to convince anyone to, you know what? He's like,
reformed,
completely reformed in pretrial confinement with no programming, no mental health help, no recovery program, the only thing I was doing was reading the Bible and going to church here and there. But I wasn't like a bully. I wasn't beating people up for no reason.
You're being tested.
Yeah.
I get it.
And like, the whole fuck around and find out. Well, I fucked around a lot. I found out.
Yeah.
So I did some time in the hole, 2 different, 60 days and 90 days in the hole. And then, I'd go to that pretrial, the jury selection thing. I ended up accepting the cap plea, and the judge gave me the cap. He was like 2.5 to 7. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll just go to the next stage, prison at this point, but I already have almost a year in, so I'm already eligible to go to minimum security. And then 6 months from then, I would go right to the halfway house. Actually, no, not 6 months from them. About like 4.5 months from that point, I could go right to the halfway house, which is what happened. I processed into R&D, receiving diagnostics. They run your medicals. They read your case synopsis and your sentencing paperwork, and then they classify you, and boom, that's it. So I got there. I got classified C2, which is minimum. They sent me out to minimum. I wasn't even like behind the wall, and then I went to the halfway house, and that was it.
What year did you go into the halfway house?
2013.
2013. So you end up eventually getting sober in 2019, right?
Yes.
6 years ago.
Yeah,
so what happened from 2013 to 2019?
Yeah, so I got released in 2014 though.
Okay.
So a halfway house for about a year or whatever. Got a job working. Actually, while I was in the halfway house, I somehow got permission, and it had to like go to the commissioner basically to go play semi-pro football. Like while I was in the halfway house, like that the COs were like, nope. The house manager, nope. The unit manager, nope. All these people are no. I'm like, well, fuck it. You know what I mean? I'm going to write a letter to the commissioner and be like, hey, this is part of my rehabilitation. You know what I mean? Like I need sports in my life. And he approved it, man. So next thing you know, my little brother's calling me and he's like, hey, this guy owns a semi-pro football team. He lives right near that prison. He said he's willing to pick you up and drop you off as long as you play for his team. And I was like, what? Really? Shout out Jim Harmon if you're listening. Yeah. And the Wolfpack, New Hampshire Wolfpack. So that's what happened. Basically, this dude would sign me out of the halfway house. And I'd go practice and he'd drop me back off. He'd sign me back in and like the games. And now I'm like, I got to go to Connecticut or Maine or out of state to play a game. Right. And like, I'm technically a prisoner. And they're like, yeah, we got to make sure you let us know where you're going. Like, because you're not supposed to leave state. So I had to get special permission for that too. I did get that permission granted. And yeah, man, I'm working as a chef at Longhorn. I'm dating one of these girls that I met at Longhorn who's a waitress, right? And I'm playing football. So it was almost like I wasn't in prison. It was like I was living in a fucked up frat house while playing football. And the only thing that wasn't going on was I wasn't drinking or partying. And after the games, all these guys were drinking and partying. And I'm like, go right in the truck with the team owner and coach, and he's bringing me right back to the halfway house, bro. But I know what they're doing in the parking lot and where they're going after, but I couldn't partake, obviously. Yeah.
When did your drinking begin to ramp up again?
I think right after I got out. Like, so when I got paroled, I didn't parole very far. I rented an apartment, saved up money at that place. I rented an apartment that literally from my porch, you could basically see the barbed wire fence of the prison. So it was like, it's like this hill in Concord, New Hampshire, that goes up this hill. It's called Palm Street. And it's like elevated at the top of the hill. And if you look from my porch, you could see like through the trees, the barbed wire in the backyard of H building in Concord, New Hampshire State Prison for Men in Concord. So like literally I'm like living the street behind like H building in the prison, and the halfway house is in front of the prison. So I went from like prison minimum halfway house, and then I moved to the street, like basically in the backyard of the prison yard. It was weird. So yeah, and I was with that girl, still playing football, and I'm like, well, you know, now I don't have to worry about getting breathalyzed when I go back to the halfway house, because I don't go back to the halfway house anymore. So now I could drink, and that was kind of the only thing that was preventing me from drinking back then. And still on parole, but I mean, as long as you're like mind your P's and Q's, for the most part, you don't get arrested, you can, you know, slip through the cracks, or, you know, not bring attention to yourself. And I wasn't doing drugs or anything, so it's not like I was going to fail a piss test. So when I checked in, they piss test you. Yeah, you're good. Yeah, I know I'm good. See ya. And I just would drink. Yeah.
How long after you started drinking until you started facing some repercussions directly correlated with your drinking?
Like after the release there?
So you get released, you start drinking again.
Oh, yeah.
How long until you start having to face consequences again, until drinking becomes a problem again?
I mean, I think there was minor consequences, like, you know, like arguments, or like, you know, I mean, loss of like a friendship, or like maybe you lost a job because you showed up, like, but it wasn't like enough to like really like rattle me, you know what I mean? I wouldn't even call them consequences. I'd say it was a bump in the road. So there was some of that stuff, right? Like turbulent air, if you will. But I guess the consequence would be like January 21st, 2017, I crashed a car, got a DWI, and I ran from the cops.
Can you take us through that?
Well, here's the thing. There's actually a consequence before that. And this was June 26, 2016.
Okay.
I drove my beautiful custom-made Harley Davidson under a Jeep head on. Yeah, and like pretty much walked away, avoided a DWI and all of that.
How did you end up under a Jeep?
Oh, bro, like, yeah, I always say like addiction, mental health's always part of it. So like if you struggle with mental health, you're pretty much gonna experience some sort of like substance or alcohol use disorder, right? And like if you drink or you struggle with substance or alcohol long enough and you didn't have mental health, eventually you're going to have some mental health issues because of substance or alcohol. So I'd say that, like, I was at a period of my life, I just broke up with this girl. I didn't even really like the girl, which is weird, but like, it was kind of like a self-sabotage thing. I wouldn't say that I was really like suicidal, but I was like, you know what, man, I want to like, the inevitable is going to occur, which is bad, right? The inevitable that is bad in my life is going to happen. I might as well influence it, have control over it, have say in it, and pick when and what it is going to be. Like, that was kind of my mindset and my drunken stupor back then.
Like a passive suicidal
thought.
I
would say even more like a risk, right? Like adrenaline risk. But I'm like, you know, and I would just got drunk enough to get enough balls to be like, fuck it. And driving my bike home from a biker bar in Hampton Beach. And I'll just leave it at that. One of my friends is a bartender, love her to death. I hope she never feels guilty about this, because this is all me and nothing to do with her. And yeah, I said, fuck it. I drove that like, didn't have a care in the world, drove that thing right under a Jeep head on.
You were just driving down the street head on. There was a Jeep and you just went right into it.
Yeah.
What happens when you hit this Jeep?
Well, I think there's a period where I blacked out, like obviously get head like type of injury. Wasn't wearing a helmet or anything, you know what I mean? I kind of like tore my knee. So a little bit before that, I had tore my ACL playing football, so I had knee surgery, and I just had like kind of rehabbed it and stuff. So that played a role in like this depression state too, because now I'm not playing sports anymore and I'm drinking, and drinking increased more, and it's the summer and all my friends are playing football, and I can't because I'm still got this like rehab knee. So I'm just like drinking full time, right? Like fucking. So what happened was basically I came to in the street after like a brief blackout from the head trauma, I presume. And I see blood all over me, my face, my arm, and like my knee hurts, and I'm like kind of under a Jeep, but under my bike. But it was like, and the person driving was obviously like, experiencing some sort of trauma, you know, like what the hell just
How fast were
happened?
you going?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Fast enough.
Yeah.
Fast enough. I know what I was doing right before that. It was like 85, 90, you know what I mean? And it was like backstretch of 286 going from Hampton Beach to Seabrook. And yeah, I wasn't going that fast. I was definitely under like 30, 35, you know what I mean? It was just like kind of cruising along as back roads, turns, and I just see this thing like kind of like a fuck it moment. And yeah, so when I came to, like, there's this person that's like, you know, kind of like experiencing some sort of trauma, like she might have thought that they just killed somebody or something. And I see an ambulance parked on the street, and I see like blue lights behind me. I'm like, what the and I get up, and I like, everyone's kind of like looking at me, and I'm like, well, what's going on here? And I remember the firefighter and the ambulance guy was like, hey, come over here. Like, so I get up just in time as they were like pulling up there. I had the back doors open, and I just kind of like stumbled or walked over there. And he's like, sit down on the back tailgate. I sat back down. I sat on the tailgate. He's like looking at my face, and like I don't know if you can see, but I got like a pretty good scar over my eye. And he's like cleaning it up. He's like, yeah, that's a good one. You're gonna need stitches. And like the cops are like over here, and they're like, I'm like, stand up. And one of them I know, I went to high school with him, and he's like, hey, come here. And the EMT was like, just don't, like, basically don't go over there, pretty much. He was like, you know, you need medical attention. And I'm like, I stood up and I started like looking at my bike, and I was like still kind of like there, but not there. It was weird, man. But as soon as I like stood up and looked at my bike, next thing you know, the cop's walking through me, and he wants to like interview me, like talk to me, do his cop thing. You know what I mean? And then the EMT's like, yeah, no. Oh, you know, we got to get him right to the like hospital. And he's like, they put me in the back of the ambulance, and off I went. I went to Exeter Hospital. They stitched me up. My dad's there, and he's like, I guess someone called him, and he's there getting me stitched up. The guy's stitching me up, and I'm like belligerent, like, you know, not very, let's just say not very respectful in the hospital to this guy that's like stitching my eye and it hurts. I felt like he didn't do any Novocaine, and he's like, you keep swearing, I'm going to discharge you. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. So, and that's what they did. Actually, they discharged me and in the ambulance, and the ambulance took me from Exeter to Portsmouth, and I sat in that hospital for the in the ICU in Portsmouth for like a week. So in all of that, getting stitches at Exeter and basically swearing, I get essentially bounced to Portsmouth. I'm in the ICU there for about a week. And while they were doing that, the cops pulled in at Exeter Hospital to like, I guess, investigate a DWI or something like that. This is what I find out after. And then the people at Exeter Hospital were like, yeah, he's gone. He's going to the ICU in Portsmouth. And then I don't know, they never followed it up because I never got a DWI for that, and I never got, you know, arrested for it. And the consequences of that was I almost died. I had stitches in my eye. I re-injured my knee, and I destroyed my beautiful Harley Davidson. And I'm glad I could talk about this now because the statute of limitations are expired, and I can't get a DWI for something that happened in 2016 now.
In 2017, you get a DWI. What can you walk us through that day?
Yeah, I was up all night. I was running security at a bar in Concord, and then after that, like shift, I went home with some of the bartenders, the waitresses, whatever, and we went to my boy's house and we were partying, and I stayed up all night and like basically gonna go home at like 5, 6, 7 in the morning. My boy wakes me up. It was like 5 or 6 in the morning. I was going to go home, but then I ended up passing out. And then my boy wakes me up around 11. He's like, yo, you got to take me to work. I was like, what? You walk to work, bro. Like, what? He's like, no, you got to take me to work. I'm like, all right. So I take him to work back at the bar, drop him off, and then I'm driving home, which is like the next town over. And pretty much again, like, I don't know. It's hard to explain because there's like a lot of things going on in my life that were like, you know, when your life's unmanageable, your life's unmanageable. And I'm like looking at my phone, this text from this girl, I'm like, where were you? Didn't come home. I'm like, oh, no, consequences of my drinking, right? Like, here we go. Relationships, jobs, things, responsibilities I'm not adhering to. I'm like, what the fuck? So again, like kind of like self-sabotage stuff, looking at the phone and like, I don't know. Long story short, I wrapped this car around a tree accidentally on purpose, and nothing happens. Like nothing happens. I'm like, what the airbags go off. It's a convertible. The car is destroyed. It's literally like part of the tree now. And I get out. I'm like looking at the tree. I'm like, oh boy, this is not good. I'm on parole. I hear cops coming, and this guy comes out of his house, and come to find out later, he's like an off-duty cop, which is how they ended up identifying me. But I'm like, yeah, I'm not sticking around for this. Right. Not sticking around. So I take off. It was January 21st, 2017. I take off through the woods, and it's snow. We just had like a pretty decent snowstorm a few days before. And I take off through the woods, and, next thing you know, I hear like dogs, a helicopter, all sorts of crazy stuff. Like they're looking for me. And what I found out later at like a later date when the discovery of the case, because they eventually did get me, which was they were looking for me for my own wellness. Like they wanted to know who the driver, like if the driver was alive, it was somebody's dead that was discharged from the vehicle, that's what they said. But like, let's be honest with you, at this point, you're tracking somebody with a dog, right? Like, somebody's running on foot. You see footprints in the snow. But yeah, so I take off through the woods of Bow, New Hampshire, man. And, like I said, my dad is military, and he was training my little brother, and I had to fight and do all this stuff that probably kids shouldn't be learning to do, but that's like who my dad is. And I came to this stream in the woods. It's not like a river, but it's like a stream. And I know, like, I hear the dogs, so I'm like trying to figure out how to not get bit by dogs, right? Like, and I come to the stream, and I like rub water on me, and I'm putting my scent in the stream. And then I cross the stream, but I like stay in the stream, and I start walking up the stream, and I see this tree that's kind of really close to the stream bank, and I climb it, put myself on the tree. Sure enough, what I'm trying to do is get my scent in the stream so it goes downstream, and then I'm going to walk upstream. I'm going to get in the tree, and I'm going to get my scent off the ground and in the air, right? Because dogs are going to smell the ground, and I'm also trying to remove my footprints by staying in that stream. You know what I mean? So that's what I did. And next thing you know, sure enough, bro, I'm sitting in a tree freezing. January 21st, I'm sitting in a tree freezing, and I see multiple cops, and a dog walk right up to the stream. The dog sniffs right to the stream, turns his head left, and goes downstream and follows my scent down the stream. And I'm like right here in a tree looking at them look for me. They go away, and I'm staying in the wooded area so the helicopter doesn't see me. And basically what happens at this point is I'm like now on the stopwatch of like hypothermia, and it's cold, I'm wet, and like, I'm like, oh boy, like I got to get home. And I'm like a mile out. I kind of know where I am, but not really, because I'm in the middle of the woods. So I got to find something to orient myself, like with the location surrounding, so I could find my way back home. And that's what I do. I come to the road. I go to this place. I'm like, oh, great. I know where I'm at now. I start walking up the woods. I hit back into the wood line. I'm hoofing it through the snow. And then I come right up to like my road, basically, to cross the street and go into my house at the time. And boom, the blues hit. They turn the blues on. Hey, freeze right there. Stop. I'm like, how the hell did they, you know what I mean? And then I'm like, obviously they ran the plates, and they just went back to my house or around that area and waited. Yeah. And they see me cut out of the woods, and yeah, they lit me up, and they cuffed me, stuffed me. I was on parole. So I got violated for parole. So I ended up doing a 64-day setback for the DWI. And yeah, they take a breathalyzer. I'm like, nope. And yeah, I pled guilty to DWI. I got 64 days for the parole setback, and that was it.
So you end up getting sober in 2019. What prompted you to get sober?
Sick and tired of being sick and tired, but rock bottom, man. Rock bottom. It sucks. Rock bottom sucks, but it's a great place to stand up on. I now look back and I call rock bottom the launch pad, because at that point, man, you can only go up unless you find a shovel and you want to continue to dig. So that's what I did, man. I just had a breakup. I was running that arena football. Like a lot had gone on, right? Like that, and I'm not trying to jump around in the story, but like I was running an arena football team, coaching and doing some pretty cool stuff, and had some dogs, rescued some dogs, had a girlfriend we were pretty serious, and like got baptized. And on her son's birthday, actually, which was like no plans or intentions to get like baptized that day, but went to church, and it just felt like this overwhelming like presence or spirit, if you will. And I'm like, being called to, like, they're doing baptisms, and I'm like, I'd always been a believer, but I wasn't necessarily a follower. I was like a backslider, and I'm like, felt guilt and shame, and like, man, something's got to change, right? Something's got to change, and that's it, man. That was it. So like I got baptized that day, and then shortly after that, like systematically everything in my life started being removed. Like that's where that 90 days or that like 9 months, it started as 90 days and like evolved of like sobriety, white knuckling it occurred, because I felt this overwhelming presence from God of like guilt, shame, that like I was doing things that weren't meant for me. And I was also coaching like elite athletes, and I felt like a hypocrite, bro, telling these guys to, get in shape, do this. And I was a mess, you know what I mean? And, so like systematically things started getting removed from my life, and then like her and I break up, then I left there. I find myself in a position where I don't have because of the DWI, I don't have a license. I don't have my bike. I don't have my truck. I had 2 pit bulls that I rescued with that girl that I was dating. I don't have those dogs. I don't have her. And her and I are fighting. I move out there, and now I'm like in a position where I'm on my dad's couch, bro. No license, not coaching arena football anymore, not playing football anymore, literally nothing. So I got baptized, and then like everything in my life was removed. Yeah. Everything. And now I'm in a place at my dad's couch, and I'm like, this sucks. Like, I don't ever want to be in this position again. Like, I felt less than a man. You know what I mean?
Walk us through the first year of your sobriety. Like, what was it? What tools did you implement? A lot of people don't know what to do or where to go to get sober, and they want to stop. What did you do to maintain sobriety in the very beginning?
Man, started just running, man. Like, that's the only, so COVID obviously is part of this, right? Like, because 2019, the end of 2019, COVID hits, and then that like does its thing for a while, and people are like, no no gathering, social distancing, I'm like, what? No one's playing sports. The arena football's like, I had intentions of getting my team back on the field in the next season, but that's all ruined. And like, I'm like, wow, I'm really stuck here, man. Like, guess I better get my shit together, right? And like, yeah, man, I just remember continuing to feel like miserable in that moment. And, the family that was around me then were struggling themselves too. So I'm like, well, you know what, God, like, what are you doing? What are you doing through me for others, right? And I always remember looking at as like, someone's looking at me, and they're either going to be inspired to do the right thing, or they're going to be encouraged to do the wrong thing through me, my actions. And that was like, I don't know, that stood out to me, man. And I just didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to be a hypocrite anymore. I know what honor is. I know what like doing the right thing feels like. Like, we all have this innate like feeling inside of us. When you do the right thing, you are doing the right thing, and you feel good about it. And that's like not even up for discussion, right? Because but when you're doing the wrong thing, you're doing the wrong thing, and you don't feel good about it. And that's not also up for discussion, because So that's what I felt. And it was just like, you know what, man? I can't do anything right now, team sport wise. I can't do this. I don't have a license. I can't get out of here. I can't anywhere. So then I was like, well, what can I do? And that's when I got connect. I started volunteering at a soup kitchen down the road at the end of my road. It's called Seabrook Community Table at Trinity United Baptist Church in Seabrook, New Hampshire. And that was like right down the road from my dad's house. I'm like, whatever, dude, I'm just going to go care for people that have it worse than me. Right? Like, how can I look like woe is me when I'm literally helping someone that has nothing, has less than me, right? And at this point, I didn't have a whole lot. So that's what I started doing, man. And then I met this person. I met like really, really great people down there, Joyce Addison and her son. Micah, who's autistic, and like started helping, man. Started like really just it's community, right? You know. But I ran into Chucky Rosa from Chucky's Fight. I have this logo on my shirt here.
Is he a sober guy?
Yeah, bro. Yeah. So Chucky, I ran into Chucky, and that's where things really changed for me. Like, I would say like the veil was like removed. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was a horse with blinders, and then it was like, wow.
What did Chucky do for you?
So Chucky operates Chucky's Fight, right? And he lost 2 kids to accidental overdoses, one in 2003 and one in 2004, Dom and Vin. And that's also something terrible. 2 incidences like that where you lose 2 kids to overdoses is actually something that created something so bad like that is actually something that also created something so beautiful called Chucky's Fight. And what Chucky's Fight does is they're a nonprofit, and they raise funds to scholarship people into treatment and sober living. And they do a lot of different things. He does interventions. He does like guest speaking at schools. He talks to kids about like the dangers of alcohol and drugs. And like one of his sons who I'm friends with, and we knew through the hockey world, he played hockey. Charles Rosa, the UFC fighter known as Boston Strong, Charles Rosa. So I knew him from years ago. And so I knew of Chucky and Chucky's Fight. And like I seen Chucky a little bit before I got sober at an MMA fight at Combat Zone. And like he gave me a dog tag in the bathroom, which is an affirmation. It's a dog tag, right? And it's an affirmation just to make healthy choices. And he gave me one. I was drinking, and I woke up with it on my one night, and I was still drinking. I didn't feel honorable, so I took it off and I put it on my stepson, and I just kept it moving that day. But I remember, like, now I'm back in Seabrook in this place, and I'm volunteering at the soup kitchen, and you know, I walk out of the soup kitchen, bro, and there he is. He's standing there, like, and he's like weeding like the garden bed at the church, like, and he's got this guy with him. He's in like a sling, like a cast. And I'm like, Chucky. He's like, well, yeah, what? Like, what's up? And I was like, hey, remember me, Kevin? I'm Kevin. He's like, oh, yeah, kind of. Hey, how's it going? And I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing, bro? Like, and don't tell me that this dude is in a sling, is weeding this garden with you, right? And he's like, yeah, we're going to, weed the garden. And I was like, oh, man, Chucky, don't worry about it. You guys just go do your thing. I'm going to take care of this. Like, I'm just going to do this for you guys. Like, get out. And he's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. And he gave me another dog tag, and I put it on because I'm feeling honorable. And I'm like, take a picture with him, and I like square up. We're like, and I got that picture, and I got the dog tag, and I'm feeling honorable, whatever. I can wear this dog tag now. So I'm like, and I'm going to take care of this weed in the garden thing for him, because like a guy like him doesn't need to be pulling weeds. A guy like me needs to be pulling weeds. I need to do some service work, right? He's already pulled guys out of the gutter. And like, what's he out here doing with a guy in a sling pulling weeds for church,
for sure,
right?
For sure.
So he told me later, he's like, bro, when you said that, I was like, I would have bet $1,000,000 to 1. There's no way you're pulling those weeds. You know what I mean? There was no way. But he drove away, and I told him I was going to take care of it the next day. It was getting dark. So I went back that next day, bro, with a rake, shovel, and all that. And I pulled all those weeds. I did that and then some. I like cleaned it up. Just made it look really, really nice.
Yeah.
And he pulled up and he's like, you did it. Like, I would have bet $1,000,000 to 1 that you weren't showing up to do that. But I did. And that was it. Like, him and I hit it off.
Dude, those are esteemable acts of service, giving back. Dude, I cared about myself for so long in the act and grips of addiction. I cared about myself. I was so selfish. When I got into sobriety, I started doing acts of service for other people, esteemable acts. I had very low self-esteem. Acts like that. You talked about the symbolism of that dog tag. You felt worth it to wear that dog tag. I never felt worth it. You know what I'm saying? So that's a beautiful story within itself. What did that blossom to? Like, where are you at today with your sobriety?
Well, so that is what like really, and I think that's a great word, blossom, right? Is like bloom where you're planted, right? So like I had no control of like where I was, what I was gonna do, this, that, the other, like literally limited like options, right? But I know I'm wearing this dog tag, and the dog tag's in the shape of he's got a bunch of different ones, but he's got one that's in the shape of New Hampshire that says "Live clean or die."
Ooh.
Yeah, I got one for you.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, no problem. And I'm putting it on, and I feel honorable because I know when he told me the first time, and he just told me it the second time, is, you know, this is an affirmation to make healthy choices. Like, reminder to make healthy choices. So I'm like, I know when I wasn't making healthy choices, why I took it off the first time and gave it to my stepson, but I'm wearing this now because I know I am making healthy choices.
Yes.
And what it blossomed to is like, I think I earned something from him. Like, I earned something from him because he said there's no way he was like, I was showing up to pull those weeds, but I did, which call it, I don't know. I wasn't looking for credit, right? And you say now like acts of service, esteemable acts, right? Like, that's what it was, but I didn't know what that was back then, right? I would tell you, like, I help people for selfish reasons. Helping people helps me, right? But it's funny said like that, but it's truthful.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to help Chucky, and you know what? I helped Chucky that day, and it actually helped me. So it was weird, and I think I earned some street credit with him in a positive way, right? Like, him and I years ago in a different world might have done some different stuff together, right?
Yeah,
but now we're here in this season of our life, and I'm pulling weeds in a garden for him. He's giving me a dog tag, and he's like pulling people out of the gutter. And what it turned into was, next thing you know, I learned this and I learned that, and I'm getting connected into the recovery community because he's been established, you know, for basically 20 years, you know, sponsoring people and scholarship people into treatment and sober living. He lost 2 kids to accidental overdoses. The governor in New Hampshire is coming to swim with him. And you got this event every year. It's called Freezing for a Reason, which is like a polar plunge, pretty much. You jump in the freezing ocean January 1st every year. And the governor, Chris Sununu, was coming down to get in the water with him. And I was like, wow, this guy's something, like, you know what I mean? Like,
he's doing something right.
Yeah. Well, Tulsi Gabbard came and swam with him. Like, all these like really kind of big type people. And, you know, that's not why I was doing it. I was just doing it because honestly, I had nothing to do. And I just wanted something that he had, right? Like sponsorship, like pick a sponsor. When you pick a sponsor, make sure you're picking somebody that has something that you want. Right. And like, I know his son already. His son's a UFC fighter. I could fight. I'm like, what I wanted from him was him to train me. That's how it started. Like, let me take some boxing lessons with you. Let me do this. I'll go to the soup kitchen. Let me do that. Let me, whatever, bro. And I'm like going on field trips with him. That's what he would call it. It was like I was riding shotgun and we were doing field trips. Next thing you know, we're handing out blankets at sober houses, giving blankets away, dog tags, doing speeches at schools, at treatment centers. And like, I'm getting connected to the recovery community. You know what I mean? And sure enough, next thing you know, I'm Kevin from Chucky's Fight. And like the stuff that I used to struggle with started, that I would say was detrimental or a weakness, is actually now becoming a strength, right? Like my former weaknesses are now becoming my strengths. And there's something in the Bible about that too, where it says like, you know, when you are weak, you are strong. So like God's using your weaknesses to become strengths. So your vulnerabilities become your strengths. And I think that helps other people too. So yeah, man, that's how it's working. And then I get a job at a treatment center as a case manager. I get my license back. You know, I get linked up with this dude from Chucky's Fight, who's actually in town from Florida. His name is Josh. He owns TNT tables, like pool table business from Florida. Josh Tansky, solid dude. Shout out Josh, thanks. Start learning the pool table business, right? I buy an Escalade because I figure out like one of those ESV Escalades. I figure out like you put the seats down, pool tables fit right in the back perfectly, right? So like
a reason to buy it.
Yeah, well, and like COVID's a mess, right? And I can't do sports, I can't do any of that stuff. And
you're hauling pool tables around.
Well, yeah, I'm buying and selling, delivering, install pool tables, but because I got linked up with this guy through Chucky, his nephew, who's up in town on the beach from Florida, and he's gonna do pool tables on the beach around here during his vacation. So I learned the trade from this dude that's up here just for a short while. And he's like, when I pull off, man, you should just keep doing this. So that's what I did, man. And during COVID, everyone needed something to do for the lockdown. So I created Beantown Billiard. I started buying and selling, delivering, install pool tables. Next thing you know, I'm stacking some money. I'm like working at a treatment center. I'm like just staying sober, just doing the next thing, just doing the next best thing. I went down to American Top Team in Florida for a while to like get out of the winter, trained with some UFC fighters at American Top Team and American Combat Gym with Charles Rosa, Charles McCarthy, Lucas Rosa, Rami Hamad, Talita Alankar, all these like really elite, top-notch fighters, like the best in the world. And like, man, I'm just like doing whatever I can to stay busy and just continue to climb the ladder in life because I don't want to be back at rock bottom, even though rock bottom was a great place to stand up on. I don't want to go back there. I'm going to use that as the launch pad. That's why I call rock bottom the launch pad, because it's only up from here, man. I'm not digging.
So talk to us about what sobriety life is like for you now.
Now, the biggest lie in recovery is, hey, get sober and everything's perfect. Let me be honest with you. Everything is not perfect just because you got sober. Life continues. Adversity comes. That's part of life. But what does happen is you become stronger and you become more stable and your life becomes sustainable, and you have the knowledge and confidence and willingness to do good things and overcome good things, right? Like,
sober, you're granted the tools to get through anything. You can get through anything sober. You have the tools around you. You have the awareness, and it's up to you if you really want to do something or not.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned in sobriety.
Yeah. And I always say saved by grace, man. Like, I did nothing to I did nothing to earn grace, right? Like, I believe I can do nothing to lose it, right? The grace of God. Like, technically, I could tell you like 5-6 different ways that I shouldn't be alive right now, but I am. So, like, yeah, by the grace of God, like, I have the skill set and knowledge and wisdom and health and wealth and things to just overcome, man. I've been doing it all my life. I'm a survivor. So yeah, like, didn't matter what happened in my life. I just kept on, and just one day at a time, and it evolves, and then you're learning more, and I'm getting different certifications, different trainings, different clinical credentials, and now I'm like well-rounded about like the actual model of what addiction is and like how to help people, and working in churches, working at sober livings, being a director of a large sober living community, doing all these different things. I worked on the mobile crisis response team, like literally responding to crises if people are ready to check out. And I've been there before, right? Like, and they're at the worst of the worst. It's the highest level of care in the community. The only thing higher would be like being admitted to the behavioral health unit. Like, and sometimes we have to admit people there with their will or against their will. It's called IEA, involuntary emergency admittance, and sometimes that happens. But like, I've been at the worst. I've seen the worst, right? Like, it's like, it can always be worse, but it can always get better, and nothing's going to get better unless I continue to be better, and I continue to be putting my best foot forward and showing up for myself before anyone else. If I'm not fit for duty for myself, like if I can't fill my own glass, if I can't keep my own glass full, I can't pour into somebody else. You can't pour from an empty glass, man.
You're pouring into yourself.
I have to. Self-care.
You have to put yourself first. If you put yourself first and you take care of yourself, then you are enabling yourself to do all the other things. Part of your family, a boyfriend, acts of service, etc. Like, you're able to hold those roles and do those things.
I don't know about a boyfriend, but girlfriend, yeah.
Well, no. I'm saying no. You're able to be a boyfriend. I'm saying.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
Sorry.
No. That's cool.
No. You're able to be part of your family. You're able to be a boyfriend. You're able to be partake in acts of service. Yeah,
for sure. Inclusion, man.
Yes.
Yeah, inclusion, community. You'll hear a lot of people say like, the antidote to addiction is connection. I'll say connection is part of the treatment plan to keep people in recovery. But honestly, I think the antidote to addiction is misery and suffering, because that is what propelled me to get sober. Is like, I didn't want to be miserable. I didn't want to suffer anymore. And that is the antidote to addiction for me. And I think connection is part of recovery, and that keeps people in recovery. But yeah. I had connections in all the wrong ways while I was, struggling and addicted and drinking. You know what I mean? So connection's not the antidote to addiction. It's definitely part of the treatment plan to stay in recovery, though. Showing up for myself, man, and that's what recovery looks like now. You know what I mean? Like, I put my life back together. So almost like I don't know, a renovation of myself, and now I'm able to renovate other people, right? Like, I've burned it to the ground and been under the prison, you know what I mean? And now I'm no, I'm not going to say back on top, but I'm on my way. You know what I mean? I used to say like from hometown hero to hometown zero, and on my way back to hometown hero. I'm not trying to be a hero, and I'm not there yet, but that's where I'm heading, which is also part of the self-care. I developed a treatment plan program called the Four Squared Principles: reveal, feel, deal, heal. All evidence-based practices. Reveals motivational interviewing, feels cognitive behavioral therapy, deal is recreational therapy, sports, fitness, yoga, arts, music, whatever, jogging, whatever your rec therapy is. And then heal, spirituality, faith. Faith is not inherently religious. It is the belief that good will occur, right? Just having a spiritual connection, having a spiritual awakening, having the ability to realize there's something greater than ourselves out there. And that helps us remove character defects. So I developed that, and I've been, teaching people in life coaching and working in recovery and all these things, man. And that is also like a form of self-care, but like confidence, man. I run my own businesses. I develop these treatment plans. I have clinical credentials. I'm in a place right now where if you look back, talk to me in 2019 and said, this is where you're going to be, this is what you're going to do. I tell you, you're crazy, bro. You're crazy. No way. I was way too selfish back then to even thinking about other people. Never mind actually putting in the work to get to where I'm at and like have, a nice car, a nice place to live, like a nice watch on my wrist, and I'm not bragging, but like hard work pays off.
Yeah, of course.
And, I burned it to the ground, bro, to the ground. I was on my dad's couch walking to work as a short order cook and doing service work at a soup kitchen with nothing, bro, nothing. Showed up with like a backpack of clothes, living at my dad's house with my dad and my brother battling their own battles, and by the grace of God too, like through me, the things that I was doing that they saw me do, those two are doing phenomenal right now. They're
great.
They're healthy. They're doing great, man. And I didn't do any of the work for them, but I do believe that them seeing me change and do everything that I was doing inspired them in some way to change, and they did, and they're both leading completely different lives.
Walk us, before we wrap up really quick, I wanted to ask this when you were talking about it before. Can you take us through, you said you fought a lot while you were locked up, in that you were tested. Can you walk us through an instance where you were tested?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. Like the first 11 months, I used to fight all the time, right? Like in county, you can get away with it. Sometimes you get caught, but
was there one that really stuck out?
Yeah, there's one that sticks out to me. So after I crashed that car, right, and I went back to prison for the DWI, the parole violation, I get 64-day setback. At the time, I didn't know how much time I was going to get, but I did know about SB 500, which is Senate Bill 500 in New Hampshire. Basically, your first parole violation, they can't give you more than 90 days. They have to release you. It's like basically mandatory release after your parole violation. Now, there's stipulations where if you picked up a new charge, they can hold you on no bail for that new charge, right? Or whatever. But it's like a DWI. They're not holding me for that. So my violation could be 90 days max.
Yeah.
But nothing below.
So you go in.
But nothing above.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I go in and I know pretty much that. And I'm like, you could run amok and they still release you as long as you don't pick up new charges. And I'm just in a bad place, bro. Like, bad place. I didn't really even want to be alive, never mind sitting in prison. You know what I mean? I just ran from the cops after I crashed that car for a reason. I didn't want to go back there, and, not every, I don't know if you know this, and I'm being facetious here, but people aren't in prison for, following the rules.
Right.
So, I show up on this pod called F pod in H building, and I get this cell, bro, and I can see my old apartment, like I was telling you about, out my cell window through the woods. I can see like where I used to live years ago. I'm like, damn, bro, like everything's circling back on me, and I'm just in a bad place, bro, and I don't want to be here. And it's F pod in H building, which is like, they call it gladiator school. Like, that's kind of what it is. It's like, I guess the worst of the worst, gang members, gang block, whatever you want to call it. But that's what they call it in New Hampshire State Prison, F-Pod. It's gladiator school. Mm-hmm. And I walk out of my cell. It's like 5 a.m. for chow. You got to walk all the way down the ramps from H building and it's freezing out, and up into the mess hall. And, it's like, you got to get up early if you want to eat. And this point, I just processed in, so you don't get canteen and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, whatever. I see this dude looking at me, and I'm like, I'm in a bad way. And I'm like, what's up, bro? What's up? What are you looking at? And he's like, says something slick. And I don't even really remember what he said, but I was like, the door popped and we start walking to Chow and walking down the stairs out of H building. And I said something again to him. He mumbled something. I said, all right, bro, we'll see when we get back to the block. You know what I mean? I didn't say nothing. Just kept it moving. I walked to the chow hall, watched him grab his tray. I grabbed my tray. I watch him sit and eat. I eat. And I'm waiting to make sure you don't like tell a cop on the way back to the ramp. And like, you know, next thing you know, I get slow rolled and the boys cuff me and take me to SHU before I even make it back to the block. But I know what I'm going to do when I get back to that block, because I know like the way the dude looked at me and he talked sideways, like, you know, I mean, it's just like, it is what it is. And I see him walk back to H building. So that's where I'm going. He's on my pod. So I walk back, I walk in his room. I'm like, yo, he's already in his bunk with his blankets pulled over his head. I'm like, yo, pop out. Told you we talk about this when we get back to the block. Like, I'm serious. Pop out, put your boots on, whatever you got to do. Fight me. You know what I mean? He's like, what, bro? Are you serious? I'm like, yeah, I'll be back. And I tell all his roommates, bro, make this dude fight me or, you know, bounce him basically. You know what I mean? Because I feel disrespected because of the engagement him and I just had. And yeah, so they did. I come back and he's like, you know, ready to fight, but not really. Like he doesn't want it. He doesn't to fight. He's like, basically, I got to fight you or I got to pack up and leave because my room, you know, that's what time it is. You know what I mean? Like, stand up for yourself. I'm like, yeah, don't make me call you something disrespectful to get you to fight. Just like, let's get this over with. And yeah, I mopped the floor with him, like banged him up pretty good. And like, I had cuts in my knuckles from his teeth and like messed up his teeth and there's blood all over the place. Like it was a short fight though. And the funny part and the reason I'm telling this story is because that kid and I connected a couple years later at a sober living while I was like the assistant director of this large sober living community. I walk into this church and he sit at family meal every Thursday. All these 6 sober houses come together at this church to have a family meal together. And I'm like, you know, one of the leaders in this large sober living community. And I look at him and I don't forget faces, bro. And I know why, but I don't remember his name, but I remember his face. And I look at him and he looks at me and like does the head down. I look at him. He does the head down again. I go, yo, you're the dude I beat up in prison, right? And he's like, yeah, bro, I don't want no problems like this, you know, like this. And I'm like, no, bro, come over here. And I gave him a hug, bro. I'm like, do you go to church? He's like, no, not really. I said, do you want to go to church with me tomorrow? He's like, yeah. So I'm like, bro, all that's dead. Doesn't even matter, bro. Like, I'm a changed person. Like, I'm baptized. I'm sober. Like, at this point, I get like 4 years sober. I'm like, I'm so sorry that happened, bro. I was in a bad place at the time. He's like, no, man, I'm sorry too. People told me I shouldn't have talked to you like that. And I was new. I just showed up. I'd only been there like 30 days. I just got sentenced and I didn't know how to operate. And then people told me after, like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have said, like, that's the wrong guy to say that type of stuff for. Like, because my dude, like people there knew me to be like a fighter and an athlete. Like I'd already done a 2.5 year sentence there, right? You know what I mean? I'm coming back for a 64-day setback. I'm an F pod. I walk on an F pod and all my boys are like, hey, yo, what the hell are you back here for? I'm like, yeah, man. Hey, listen, this isn't an alumni party.
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah. And then this dude says something funny to me at Chow Hall. So I'm like, whatever, bro. Call it anger management.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's bang.
I you know, like I said, I'm not trying to glamorize it, but beat him up pretty quickly. And like, I remember holding him down like this and I was going to keep hitting him, but something told me, he was like, ask him if he's had enough. And that's what I said. I was like, you good, bro? Like, if you had enough? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, I'll let you up. But if I let you up and you come back after me, I'm going to put you down and I'm not letting you back up. He's like, no, bro, I've had enough. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, thank you for standing up for yourself. I literally said that. And the next thing you know, dude, all these people come out of the woodwork and all the blood that was all over the floor, literally it's gone like within seconds, bro. And now I'm got this like literally like gone. It was like a crime scene was there and then it disappeared. It was wild. And then I got this like gash on my knuckle from his teeth and it's cut open and like, I'm like, man, I'm going to get like like, you don't want open wounds in jail, right? Or prison. You get like MRSA or like staph or whatever. Yeah. And I'm like joking about it. I'm like, oh, this kid is going to give me gingivitis in my hand because it's from his tooth, right? So then like I devise a plan where I like told the guard that I hit my hand on the sharp edge of the bunk and I cut it and I need to go to medical to get this disinfected type thing. And I'm like, put it in the book, bro, log it in the book because I don't want to get lugged later if you guys do knuckle checks or anything. He's like, oh, I write in the book, Corbin, you know, cut his hand on the bunk, but yeah, go to medical. Here's the pass. I come back, it's all wrapped up, and that kid's got like the one of those state beanies pulled over his eyebrows, and is like every time they come do like count, he, hiding his face type thing. He was solid, bro. Solid. Some people will tell on you, you know what I mean? You get slow rolled and they'll bring you to shoot. The kid's solid, stood up for himself, fought like a man, and then hid the wounds and didn't get me in trouble. And then I connected with him. He went to church with me, and like, dude, I seen him a couple weeks ago, and still friends with him. And it's just,
that's a beautiful thing.
It shows so weird that God used some weird, crazy adversity to literally connect me with him in a way and bring him to a church. And now he's a believer, and now he goes to church, and he's sober, and he's still in that sober house and doing great. And he works in recovery too. He works at a treatment center. So yeah, bro, like huge testimony of what God in recovery can do for people.
That's amazing, dude. Well, Kevin, I really appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you driving over. Where can people find you?
Yeah, sure, man. I really appreciate you as well, bro. Thank you. You can find me on Instagram, KevinJames, Kevin James without the I on Instagram, or Kevin James on Facebook, but also New England Calvary, Facebook, Instagram. Doing things in recovery, man. I'm working with people at New England Calvary. I say sports over streets, sports over courts, trying to keep people involved in sports so they don't end up in the streets and they don't land in the courtrooms. I work with at-risk youth, veterans that struggle. My dad being 100% disabled vet, and people that struggle with substance use disorder, man, just really trying to help redirect lives to the greater good, one person at a time. And with that program I created, trying to open a treatment center. So definitely looking for some partners or investors or funders to create something beautiful. But yeah, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all that. I'm on TikTok too, Kevin James. But New England Calvary, if anyone out there is struggling, you're not alone. You need help, there's somebody that'll answer the phone. Chucky's Fight, you can call funding, also you call me, man. If I'm awake, I'm answering my phone. If I'm not awake, leave a message, confidential voicemail. I'll call you back. But we're doing interventions, man. We're connecting people, getting them into treatment, redirecting lives for the greater good. And good things come to people that work hard, man. And I'm looking forward to being in that movie, Pressed. Rex De Palma, he's directing a movie in Boston about the pressed pills and the fentanyl opioid epidemic. It's being filmed in Boston. So
it's amazing.
I went to that casting. I'm getting I'm going to be in that movie. So yeah, stay tuned there too. Hopefully some good things come out of that. But yeah,
that's
man.
Great. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Thanks for having me, man.
Of course.
And hope everyone rises above their struggles.